She undressed before him and whispered, "Human, it's been more than a month, and still you haven't deflowered me." The night was quiet on the frontier base. The stars above stretched like an endless ocean of silver. The human soldier sat alone inside his small quarters. The war was over, but peace still felt fragile. He had been sent here to watch the valley. A lonely duty, a silent duty. The wind outside carried the scent of burned soil and strange alien flowers. The scars of battle were still fresh on the land. Every shadow outside seemed alive, but nothing was more alive than the memory of the alien woman who stayed near him. She was tall. Her skin glowed faintly under the moons, and her eyes always burned with pride. She had fought beside him. Blade and blood, she had carried him when he was wounded. She had stood between him and death without fear. Now she came to him not as a warrior, but as something else. The door opened without warning. The human lifted his head, and there she was, her armor gone, her steps heavy with decision. She looked at him with fire in her eyes, and then she spoke words that froze his breath. "Human, it's been over a month and you have not deflowered me," she said, her voice low, dangerous, filled with both anger and something softer. She began to pull at the ties of her clothing, her hands slow, deliberate. She undressed before him, and the room felt suddenly too small. The human's heart pounded, his mouth went dry. He had faced plasma fire and alien beasts, but nothing terrified him like this moment. He wanted to speak, but no words came. He felt trapped between honor and desire, between duty and something unknown. Was this a trap, he thought? Was she testing him, or was this something real? The alien warrior stood tall, her scars from battle shining under the light. She was not afraid. She was daring him to move, daring him to choke. The silence stretched like a blade between them. He could not even breathe. His mind raced back through every memory, every night when she had sat by his fire, every time her hand had stopped his bleeding, every time her voice had called him back from despair. Why now, he thought? Why tonight? Why with those words she was proud, fierce, unbroken? Yet in her voice he had heard something else, something close to fear. The human tried to stand, his legs weak. He wanted to speak reason, he wanted to say no, but her gaze pinned him like a spear. She stepped closer, her body glowing under the pale moons. "You saved me," she whispered, though her voice still shook with anger. "But you treat me as if I am nothing. Do you not understand? Among my people I cannot return like this. If you refuse me, you shame me, and if you accept, you bind me. Which are you, human, a coward or a mate?" The words hit him harder than any weapon. It was not only about desire, it was about her honor, her survival, her place among her people. The weight pressed heavy on him. He swallowed, sweat on his brow, his hands trembling. He could hear his own heartbeat echo in the silence. The alien woman dropped the last piece of cloth from her shoulders. She stood proud, unafraid, as if ready to fight him. If he stepped away, her eyes dared him to act, dared him to prove himself. The human felt 1,000 thoughts crash inside him. He wanted to run, he wanted to stay, he wanted to speak, but no words came. The room felt hot, suffocating, his chest heavy with fear, his mind sharp with questions, and yet beneath it all, a strange pull dragged at his heart. Outside the wind howled, rattling the walls of the quarters. The moons burned brighter in the sky. It felt as if the universe itself was holding its breath. He knew nothing would ever be the same again. If he moved, if he spoke, if he chose, it would bind them both forever. And in that moment, he remembered how she had once told him after battle, "A warrior who does not risk everything gains nothing." Those words echoed in his mind now, louder than the storm, louder than the fear. He stood frozen, the decision burning before him. Would he take the step that could change their lives? Or would he walk away, leaving her broken and himself haunted? The night stretched on, heavy with silence, heavy with tension, a choice waiting to be made. And as this story begins, let me gently remind you, dear listener, if you are enjoying this tale and wish to hear more of these human and alien encounters, please subscribe to this channel. It means a lot, and it keeps these stories alive for you. The human's breath caught, his heart trembled, and before him, the alien warrior waited, unyielding, her words hanging in the air like a challenge. "Human, it has been over a month," she repeated softly, "and you still have not deflowered me." The fire in her eyes burned brighter than the moon's. The choice stood before him like a cliff's edge, and once he stepped forward, there would be no return. The night after her shocking words, the human could not sleep. The valley outside was silent, but inside his chest, his heart beat like war drums. He lay awake, replaying her voice again and again. He had fought beside her, bled beside her, yet he had never thought of her like this. He had respected her as a warrior, honored her as a comrade, but never imagined her demand. When dawn came, the human stepped outside. The air was cold, mist curling through the broken trees. She was already awake, standing on the ridge, her long hair moving with the wind, her scars gleaming in the weak sunlight. She did not speak, but her silence was heavy, like a wall between them. Every time he looked at her, he remembered her words, her challenge, her body unafraid, her eyes daring him to act. He tried to speak to her, but she turned away. The human felt the distance growing, though they were only a few steps apart. Later that day, while patrolling the valley, danger came. A pack of shadow beasts slipped from the forest, their claws clicking against the stones, their eyes glowing red. The human reached for his weapon, but before he could fire, the alien woman leapt forward, her blade flashing like lightning, her movements deadly and precise. She fought with the fury of fire, cutting the beasts down one by one. The human joined her, firing shot after shot. Their fight was like old times, side by side, backs against each other, a perfect rhythm of survival. When the last beast fell, silence returned. The human breathed hard, sweat dripping, and when he looked at her, she was already staring at him. For a moment, he forgot the war, forgot the valley, forgot everything. There was only her eyes, her scars, her strength. "Why do you fight beside me?" she asked suddenly, her voice low, "yet refuse what I offer?" The human froze, her words sharper than any blade. "You think me unworthy," she said, her jaw tight. "Or do you fear me?" The human shook his head, but no words came. He wanted to explain, wanted to tell her it was not fear of her, but fear of himself, fear of what it would mean. Her people were different. Her culture was built on honor and ritual. To share herself with someone was no small thing. It was a bond that could not be broken, but he was human, raised with rules, laws, boundaries. To him it felt dangerous, forbidden. He could not tell if she truly wanted him or if she only wanted what her people demanded. That night, the fire between them burned higher than the flames in their camp. She sat across from him, silent, her eyes watching, waiting, her patience wearing thin. Finally she spoke, her voice softer, almost broken. "Do you not see, human? My people think me less because I stand unchosen. Every scar on my body speaks of battles won. Yet they call me unworthy. They say I am not woman enough. They say no mate will take me, and so I came to you." Her words cut into him, deeper than any wound. He realized this was not only about desire. This was about her pride, her future, her place in a world that judged her by rules he barely understood. "You treated me with respect when no one else did," she whispered. "You looked at me as more than a broken blade. You made me feel whole, and now you turn from me. Tell me, human, am I wrong to want you?" The human's throat tightened. He had no answer. He could only stare, trapped in the storm of her eyes. The silence dragged, the fire crackled, the night deepened, and he felt the pull stronger than ever before. Yet still, he held back. When morning came, the valley echoed with the sound of drums, not from them, but from beyond the mountains, distant, heavy, and growing louder. The alien woman's face turned grim. She recognized the sound. It was not war, not yet, but it was a gathering, a summoning. "Others are coming," she said, her voice like stone. "My people, or perhaps my enemies. If they find me here with you, they will judge. They will decide if I am worthy or worthless. and they will see you as the measure." The human felt the blood drain from his face. He realized their bond was no longer private, no longer a secret. It was about to become something far greater, far more dangerous. He looked at her and saw not just a warrior, not just a woman, but someone standing on the edge of honor and ruin. And he understood, if he did not act soon, if he did not choose, someone else would choose for them. That night, as the drums grew louder in the distance, the alien woman stood over him once more, her voice calm but filled with fire. "You saved my life, human. But now you must decide if you will save my honor," she said, her eyes fixed on him. "For once they arrive, there will be no turning back." The human swallowed hard, the weight of destiny pressing on his chest, the firelight reflected in her eyes, and he knew the time of silence was ending. The human's breath caught. He leaned closer, afraid of what she might say, yet desperate to know. Her hands trembled slightly, though her voice stayed steady. "I was chosen once, long ago, before the war, a mate promised to me by my clan. He was proud, strong, and cruel. He called me weak. He called me scarred. He said he would shame me before all. I struck him down before the altar. I spilled his blood when he tried to claim me. Since that day, I am marked. I am cursed in their eyes. No man of my people will ever touch me. No clan will ever take me. They whisper, I am defiled. And so I came to you, human, because you see me without chains. Without that curse, you see me as I am." The fire cracked loud, throwing sparks into the air. The human sat frozen, her words cutting deeper than any wound he had carried. He remembered the way she had saved him, the way she had fought, the way she had stood unbroken even when bleeding, and now he understood the weight she carried. She looked at him, her voice low, almost pleading. "If you turn away, if you refuse me, I return to nothing. I return to exile. I will live alone in shame until I die. Is that what you want, human? Is that how your honor speaks?" The human's heart raced, his hands shook. He wanted to answer, but no sound came. The truth pressed on him like iron. Outside, the drums grew louder, echoing closer. The ground itself seemed to shake. Time was running out. He rose to his feet, pacing, his mind at war. On one side, the law of his command, the rules that told him never to cross this line. On the other, her eyes, her scars, her truth, the way she had carried him when no one else would. The alien woman stood slowly, towering over him, her voice firm now, no longer weak. "You cannot escape this, human. When they arrive, they will ask, they will see, and if you do not stand for me, they will take me, they will drag me in chains, they will call me cursed until my last breath, and you will be remembered as the coward who turned away." Her words burned like fire, and he knew she was right. The night grew darker, the fire burned low, and the human finally spoke, his voice trembling. "You are not cursed. You are not broken. You are not nothing. You are more than they deserve, and more than I ever deserved to stand beside." Her eyes softened, just for a moment, but then the sound of horns split the valley, deep and terrible. The drums answered, closer now. She turned her head sharply, her hand on her blade. "They are here," she said, her voice hard again. "My people, my enemies, perhaps both. The moment has come." The human's chest tightened, his breath shallow. He realized the secret she had carried, the curse she bore, was about to be judged not only by him, but by the whole world. And in that moment, he knew the next choice would decide not only her fate, but his own. The horns echoed through the valley like the call of ancient beasts. The human felt every note shake his bones. The alien woman stood tall, her blade gleaming in the firelight, her face carved with determination. The human's mind was a storm. He knew what was coming. Her people would arrive. They would see her. They would see him. And questions would be asked, questions that could not be avoided. If he claimed her, he would break the law of his command. He would mark himself forever. But if he refused, she would be dragged into exile, her name destroyed, her life turned to ash. It was not a choice between easy and hard. It was a choice between two kinds of ruin. The fire between them crackled. The alien woman turned to him, her voice calm but sharp. "You are afraid, human, not of me, but of what it means to take me. I see it in your eyes." He swallowed hard, unable to answer. His silence was already an answer. She stepped closer, her scars glowing in the firelight, her voice low. "When the sun rises, my people will demand to know if you are mine, if I am yours, and I cannot lie to them. What will you say, human? Will you protect me, or will you destroy me with silence?" The human's chest tightened, sweat on his brow. He remembered the war, the endless battles, the moments when she had shielded him with her own body, when she had dragged him through fire, when she had bled so he could live, and now he, who had been saved so many times, could not find the courage to save her with a single word. He turned away, walking to the edge of the ridge, the valley below bathed in moonlight, the shadows long and shifting. He thought of his commanders. The rules burned into his mind. Do not cross this line. Do not bind yourself to them. But then he thought of her voice, the tremble when she confessed her past, the strength in her eyes when she fought, the loneliness in her silence. His heart was split in two, one side shouting for duty, the other crying for her. Behind him, the alien woman stood like a statue, her blade resting against the ground, her voice softer now. "I will not beg you again, human. My pride has already bled enough. If you cannot choose, then the choice will be made for us, and when it is, I will not forgive you." Her words pierced him deeper than any wound. He clenched his fists, his breath heavy. A rustle in the trees broke the silence. Shadows moved along the valley edge. They were close, closer than he had expected. The alien woman's eyes narrowed, her voice steady. "They come. Prepare yourself." The human turned, weapon in hand, his heart racing. But the storm in his mind raged louder than the enemies outside. For a moment, he imagined it, claiming her, standing before her people, saying she was his, that he had chosen her. He imagined the shock, the whispers, the anger of his commanders, but also the pride in her eyes, the way her scars would no longer be shame, but honor. Then he imagined the other path, silence, stepping away, letting her be taken. Watching her dragged in chains, her eyes filled with betrayal, the fire in her spirit turning to ashes. He imagined living with that memory forever. The two paths stood before him like twin blades, both sharp, both deadly. He felt her gaze burning on his back, waiting, judging, her patience at its end. The shadows at the edge of the valley grew larger. Shapes of warriors appearing under the moonlight, their weapons gleaming, their voices carrying across the night. The alien woman straightened, her hand tight on her blade. "It is time," she said. "When they reach us, you will speak, and your words will bind me or end me." The human's chest ached, his heart like fire. He wanted to run, to vanish, but there was no escape. The choice stood like a wall, unbreakable. He turned to her, his voice shaking. "If I claim you, there is no going back. Your people will see it. My commanders will know. I will be cast out. Do you understand that?" She met his gaze, unflinching. "Yes, human. And if you refuse, I will be cast out, alone, forever. Which fate weighs heavier?" Her words struck him silent. He realized she was not only asking for herself, she was offering him something too. A bond deeper than blood, stronger than law. The voices outside grew louder, the warriors chanting, their steps shaking the earth. The human felt the world closing in, every breath harder, every second sharper, and in that moment he understood. No law, no command, no fear could shield him from the truth. The choice was not only about her honor, it was about who he was, what he was willing to stand for. The alien woman stepped closer, her voice almost a whisper. "Decide, human, for the drums grow louder, and once they arrive, your silence will speak louder than your words." The human's chest heaved, sweat ran down his face, his hands trembled on his weapon. The horns sounded again, closer now, echoing through the valley. The ground shook with the march of feet. He looked at her, the firelight painting her scars in gold, her eyes fierce, her body unbroken, her pride waiting for either salvation or ruin. And he knew, when the dawn came, he would either rise as her shield or fall as her betrayer. The horns grew louder, the ground trembled beneath marching feet, the human's breath caught as shapes moved in the mist, shadows of tall warriors with long spears and blades, their voices echoing across the valley like thunder. The alien woman stood at the ridge, her body tense, her blade ready, her face carved from stone. She knew these were not strangers. They were her kin, her people, and yet she spoke with no joy, only steel. "They come for me," she said quietly, "to judge, to claim, or to condemn." The human felt the weight of her words, his chest tight with fear. He looked down the valley and saw the first torches glowing like burning eyes, a line of warriors moving closer. But before they reached the ridge, another sound split the night, a shriek, high, sharp, and terrible. The trees on the far side of the valley shook, dark shapes poured from the shadows, not her kin, not her clan, but something else. The alien woman's eyes widened, her jaw tightening. "Raiders," she hissed. "The rival clan has come. They mean to take me by force and kill you." The human's blood froze, his weapon raised, the shapes charged. Armored figures, painted with ash and blood, their weapons flashing in the torchlight, their eyes burning with hatred. The alien woman leapt forward, her blade singing as it cut the first attacker down, sparks flying, blood spraying across the rocks. She moved like lightning, her scars glowing under the moonlight. The human fired, each shot tearing through the night. The air filled with the screams of battle, steel clashing, fire burning. The raiders came like a storm, their numbers overwhelming, their fury unending. They wanted her alive, but him dead. They shouted curses, calling her cursed one, calling him thief of honor. The human and the alien woman fought back to back, every strike of his rifle matched with the slash of her blade. The night was chaos, shadows, fire, blood, and screams. Yet even in the storm, the human felt the weight of choice pressing on him. Every time her blade struck, every time his shots rang out, he wondered. If he refused her, what would it matter? They would take her anyway. They would chain her, break her, destroy her. And all his silence would buy was regret. The alien woman roared, cutting down two warriors with a single strike, blood spraying across her face. She turned to him, her eyes blazing. "Human, they will not stop. If they drag me back, my life is over. You must decide now, claim me, or watch me fall as nothing." Her words burned in his ears, louder than the battle, sharper than the blades. The human's chest heaved, his heart pounded. He fired again, dropping another raider, his hands shaking, sweat pouring, his voice torn with desperation. "Why me?" he shouted over the noise. "Why not one of your own? Why not return to them?" She spun, driving her blade through an enemy's chest, blood pouring onto the stones, her voice fierce. "Because my own betrayed me, because my own marked me as cursed, because you are the only one who saw me as more than scars, the only one who treated me as warrior, not waste. If you abandon me, I am truly nothing." The human's throat burned, his weapon nearly empty, the raiders closing in. The enemy clan shouted louder, their leader stepping forward, a giant warrior with black armor and eyes like fire, his voice booming across the ridge. "Cursed one," he growled, pointing his blade at the alien woman. "Your time is over. You belong to no one, and tonight you return in chains. Your shame will feed our victory." The alien woman spat blood onto the ground, lifting her blade, her voice steady. "I belong to no one but myself, unless—" She turned her eyes to the human, fierce and unyielding. "He chooses otherwise," the human's bars. Eth caught. The entire battle seemed to freeze around him, torches flickering, blades gleaming, enemies waiting, her eyes fixed on him like fire. He realized the truth. The raiders would never stop. Her people would never forgive, but if he spoke, if he claimed her, it would not only save her, it would mark her as untouchable. No one could drag her in chains if she stood chosen by him. The giant warrior laughed, a cruel, echoing sound. He will not choose you, cursed one. No human would taint himself with your shame. He will run. He will leave you, just as we always knew. The alien woman clenched her jaw, but her eyes never left the human, waiting, her pride balanced on the edge of a blade. The human's heart pounded, sweat dripping, his weapon empty now, only his voice left. The raiders circled closer, blades raised, torches burning, the night trembling with fury, and the human knew the next words from his mouth would decide everything. Her fate, his fate, the battle, and the bond that tied them. The valley held its breath, silence thick as blood, the alien woman's chest heaving, her eyes burning, the enemy waiting for his silence to betray him. And the human opened his mouth. Valley burned with firelight. Torches flickered like eyes of demons. Raiders surrounded them, their blades gleaming with hunger. The alien woman stood proud, her chest rising and falling, her blade dripping with blood. But her gaze was fixed only on him, the human. Everything slowed. The battle noise faded into a heavy silence. Every warrior seemed to wait. Every breath held, as if the world itself leaned forward to hear his answer. The human's chest heaved, his heart thundered like the drums that still echoed in the mountains, his weapon empty, his body trembling. Yet the weight pressing him down was not steel or fire. It was the choice. If he stayed silent, she was lost, dragged in chains, her pride shattered forever. If he spoke, if he claimed her, then both their lives would change. His commanders would cast him out, his name would be broken in the eyes of men. But her nor would burn like fire, untouchable. The raider chief laughed, his voice cruel. Say nothing, human, and she is ours. She will crawl before us, a cursed one, and you will live with your cowardice. The alien woman turned her head slowly, her eyes never leaving his, her voice soft but sharp as a blade. Choose, human, choose now, or I fall as nothing. The world spun around him, fire, blood, smoke, shadows, but all he could see was her, scarred but unbroken, proud but desperate, strong but trembling on the edge of ruin. His throat tightened, sweat poured down his face. He heard his own voice, broken and shaking but louder than the silence. She is mine, he said, the words ripping from his chest like thunder. She is mine, and I am hers. The valley froze, raiders stiffened, even the torches seemed to burn brighter. The alien woman's eyes widened, not with weakness, but with fire, her pride reborn, her strength renewed. The raider chief snarled, his blade pointing at the human. Lies. No human would bind himself to a cursed one. Prove it. Prove your words with blood. The alien woman stepped closer, her scars glowing, her body trembling not with fear, but with fury. He has already proven it, by standing, by speaking, by claiming me when none of you would. He is more warrior than all of you together. The raiders roared in anger. Their leader stepped forward, massive, armored, his weapon a black blade as long as the human's arm. The ground shook with his steps. The human's chest tightened. He had no weapon left, nothing but empty hands and burning words. But before he could move, the alien woman placed herself in front of him, her blade raised, her voice fierce. If you want him, you go through me. The chief sneered. Then you will die first, cursed one. He swung his blade with a roar. The clash of steel shook the night, sparks flying. The alien woman fought like fire itself. Every strike of her blade a storm, every movement filled with fury. The human could only watch, his chest aching, his heart breaking with every wound she risked. But the chief was strong, stronger than any she had faced. His blade smashed against hers, forcing her back, each blow heavy as thunder. The raiders cheered, chanting her shame, calling her cursed, calling her broken. But the human's voice rose above them, desperate, raw. You are not cursed, he shouted. You are not broken. You are mine, and I will never let them take you. The alien woman's eyes flashed, his words fueling her, her strikes faster, her fury brighter. She pushed against the giant, her blade cutting deep, blood spilling. The raider chief staggered, roaring. The human, weaponless, saw his chance. He grabbed a fallen spear from the ground, charging forward, his body trembling, but his spirit on fire. He drove the weapon into the chief's side with all his strength. The giant roared in pain, stumbling to his knees. The alien woman raised her blade high, her voice echoing across the valley. I am no curse, I am chosen, and tonight I stand not as broken, but as bound. And with a single strike, she drove her blade through the raider chief's chest, his roar dying in the night. Silence fell, heavy and sharp. The raiders stared in shock, their leader dead, their pride shattered. The alien woman stood tall, her chest heaving, her blade dripping. She turned slowly, her eyes burning as she looked at the human, and for the first time, she smiled, fierce, proud, victorious. The raiders backed away, whispering, fear in their eyes, no longer calling her cursed, no longer calling her broken, but something else, something greater. The human staggered, his chest aching, his body weak, but he met her gaze, his voice soft but steady. You are mine, and I am yours. The valley was silent, the fire crackled, the enemies broken. And yet the night was not over, for beyond the ridge more horns echoed, deeper, older, not the raiders, but her people, coming at last to see what had happened. The alien woman's face hardened again, her voice low. It is not finished, human. The night of truth has only begun. The human's chest tightened once more, his choice made, his fate sealed, and yet the storm was far from over. The body of the raider chief lay broken on the stones, his blood soaking into the earth, his warriors scattered back into the shadows, fear in their eyes, their voices trembling as they whispered to one another. The cursed one had slain their leader, and the human had stood at her side. But the victory brought no peace, for beyond the ridge, the sound of deeper horns rolled like thunder, not the wild cry of raiders, but the heavy call of her people, the warriors of her clan. They were coming fast, their footsteps shaking the valley. The alien woman lifted her blade, her scars still bleeding, her chest rising and falling with exhaustion, yet her eyes burned with unyielding fire. She looked at the human and spoke low. This is the harder battle, human. Not against enemies, but against my own. They will not forgive what I have done. They will not forgive what you have said, unless you stand with me. The human's throat tightened, his body trembling. He had already chosen once. He had already spoken the words that bound them, but this was different. Before raiders and shadows, his voice had been enough. But before her people, it would be tested like iron in fire. The torches of her clan soon lit the ridge, a wave of armored figures emerging from the darkness, their banners high, their eyes sharp. Their leader stepped forward, an elder with silver hair and a voice like thunder. His gaze swept the valley, the blood, the fallen raiders, and then it fixed on her. Daughter of the clan, he thundered. You stand with blood on your blade and a human at your side. Explain yourself. Why do you fight with him? Why do you stand bow? Unto shame. The alien woman raised her head, her scars shining in the torchlight, her voice clear. I stand with him because none of you would stand with me. I fought your wars. I bled for your honor. And still you called me cursed. Still you cast me aside. But he saw me as more. He chose me when none of you would. He claimed me when you all turned away. Murmurs swept through the warriors, some with anger, some with doubt. The elder's eyes narrowed. A claim means nothing without strength. Do you think his words protect you? Do you think his weakness makes you whole? The human stepped forward, though his body shook, though fear burned his chest. He met the elder's gaze and spoke loud, his voice raw but unbreaking. She is not cursed, she is not broken, she is warrior, she is fire, she is mine, and I will fight anyone who dares say otherwise. The words hung in the air like steel. The warriors shifted, some sneering, others silent. The elder's face hardened. You would defy us, human, the elder growled. You would bind yourself to her, even knowing what it means, even knowing exile and shame. The human swallowed, his heart pounding, but he did not look away. Yes, he said, steady, because I would rather live in exile with her than live in honor without her. The alien woman's eyes glistened, but no weakness showed. Only pride, only fire. The elder raised his hand. Silence fell, his voice cutting the night. Then prove it, human. Prove with more than words. Fight not the raiders, but one of us. If you win, she is yours by bond. If you fall, your claim dies with you, and she returns to exile. The human's chest tightened, his body weary, his weapon broken, his strength nearly gone. But he saw the alien woman's face, her scars, her fire, her pride, and he nodded. "I accept," he said, his voice like stone. A warrior stepped forward, massive, armored, his blade long and sharp. He sneered at the human. "You are weak, soft, you will fall in moments." The alien woman reached for the human's arm, her voice low, urgent. "You do not need to do this, human. You have already given me more than I dreamed." He turned to her, his hand covering hers, his voice gentle but firm. "No, I have not. Not yet. If I do not stand, they will never see you as more. They will never let us live. This is the last step, and I will not turn away." The duel began under the torches, the circle of warriors surrounding them, the alien woman forced to watch, her heart a storm. The warrior lunged, his blade heavy and fast. The human dodged, his body slow with exhaustion, but his will burning. He struck with whatever he had, fists, broken spear, sheer will, each blow weaker than steel but fueled by fire. The crowd roared, some jeering, some shouting. The elder watched in silence. The human stumbled, blood on his face. The warrior raised his blade for the final strike. But then, with a roar, the human drove forward, slamming the broken spear into the warrior's chest, the force enough to drop him to his knees. The circle went silent. The warrior fell, defeated. The human stood swaying, blood dripping, chest heaving, but unbroken. The elder raised his hand, his voice echoing. "It is done. By strength and by bond. She is no longer cursed. She is chosen, by her own will and by his." The alien woman rushed to his side, catching him before he fell, her voice fierce. "You fool, you reckless fool, you should have died." The human smiled weakly, his voice soft. "Better to die with you than live without you." The warriors bowed their heads, not all, but enough. The whispers changed, no longer cursed, no longer broken, but bound, honored, chosen. The elder lowered his gaze, his voice quiet. "Perhaps we were blind. Perhaps honor is not what we thought. Perhaps it is stronger in you than in us." The alien woman held the human close, her eyes burning with tears she would never shed, her voice steady. "We are bound now, human, not by law, not by shame, but by choice, and no one will take that from us." The night grew still, the fire burning low, the valley silent at last, the raiders gone, her people watching, and in the center stood a human and an alien warrior, scarred, bloodied, but unbroken, and from that night on, their story was no longer whispered as curse, but shouted as legend.